One question. That's all it took. Not a speech, not a protest, not a shouting match. Just one question, asked calmly, precisely, that caused the entire Senate chamber to freeze. Because once it was spoken out loud, there was no unhearing it, and no easy way to answer it either. Public money, national security, extremism, and a government suddenly forced to explain whether its systems were protecting Australians or reacting too late. Before we go any further, pause for a second. Where are you watching from right now? Drop your state or country in the comments, because what happened here doesn't stay locked inside Parliament House. It spills outward, fast. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why. Because the most uncomfortable part of this story isn't what was asked, it's what still hasn't been fully answered. The chamber wasn't loud. That's what made it unsettling. This wasn't one of those rowdy sessions filled with heckling and noise. The air felt heavier than usual, the kind of quiet where everyone senses something is about to land hard. A senior opposition senator rose to his feet. No theatrics, no grandstanding, just intent. He addressed the president, then directed his question to the minister representing the Prime Minister. And instead of circling the issue, he went straight for the centre. A government grant, taxpayer money, a program meant to promote social cohesion, and an organisation linked, not loosely, not vaguely, but directly to a rally held on the anniversary of October 7, a date that still sits raw in the chest of communities around the world. That's when the temperature in the room shifted, because this wasn't a hypothetical, and it wasn't partisan noise. It was specific, and it carried weight. Stay with this, because that was only the first layer.
Senator Paterson.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Prime Minister, Senator Wong. An article in The Australian today revealed that the Lebanese Muslim Association, an organisation awarded a $1.65 million social cohesion grant by the Albanese government, joined with the extremist organisation Hizb ut-Tahrir to host a rally last night to mark the one-year anniversary of October 7, where speakers celebrated terrorist attacks as a day of celebration. Minister, do you think it's appropriate to give taxpayers' money for social cohesion to an organisation which supported a protest on the anniversary of the largest loss of Jewish life since the Holocaust?
Thank you, Senator Paterson. Minister Wong.
Thank you, President. Well, first, in relation to the last part of the question, I think we are united in our condemnation of what occurred on October 7th. It was an atrocity. It was not only the greatest loss of Jewish life in any single day since the Holocaust, but there were also so many other Israeli citizens who were harmed and are living with that. We also have hostages who are still held. We, I think, are united in our condemnation of Hamas, which is, as I keep reminding people in this place, a terrorist organisation that is dedicated to the destruction of the Jewish state and the Jewish people. And they are rightly condemned, as they should be. In relation to Hizb ut-Tahrir, I condemn those hateful comments, and I've consistently done that. Just as I have been clear about, I have done so publicly, Senator.
Order, Senator McKenzie, order.
And I have condemned the flying of the Hezbollah flag and symbols, and I think we all should. And we are at a time when we see a lot of division in our society.
Minister, please resume your seat. Senator Paterson.
Thank you, President. On a direct relevance, I asked the Minister about a grant for social cohesion to an organisation that hosted a rally celebrating October 7. She's not responded 90 seconds into the question.
Thank you, Senator Paterson, and I note that your question was broader than that, and I think the Minister is being relevant, and I will continue to listen carefully. Minister Wong.
Thank you. I was responding to the last part of your question, Senator Paterson. In relation to Hizb ut-Tahrir, we would say, I've said previously to you, Senator Paterson, that we take advice about our security intelligence agencies about where to list organisations. I won't speculate publicly about that.
Order.
In relation to the grant, the advice I have is no government funding has supported such events or rallies. $25 million was provided to the Australian Jewish community and to support, and $25 million to support Palestinian.
The time for answering has expired. Senator Paterson, first supplementary.
Thank you, President. Separate media reports revealed that United Muslim Australia's Sheikh Ibrahim Dadoon praised the October 7 terrorist attacks at this rally, claiming victory is coming soon. This comes after the Assistant Minister for Citizenship and Multicultural Affairs, Julian Hill, invited United Muslims Australia to also apply for a social cohesion grant from the Commonwealth Government. Will the Prime Minister intervene to rescind these grants and ensure no more taxpayer money will go to organisations promoting extremist and anti-Semitic views?
Thank you, Senator Paterson. Minister Wong.
Thank you. What I was going to go on to say, the advice I have is $25 million was provided to support the Australian Jewish community and $25 million to support Australian Palestinian, Muslim, Christian and other communities affected by the conflict in the Middle East. Funding to the Lebanese Muslim Association was for trauma support, mental health and youth-related work. Now, I understand the point that the Senator is making. I would respond in relation to was it Mr. Baydon, I think was the quote that you talked about. I'm sorry, I must have misheard you. Certainly in relation to the speaker at the rally that I thought you were referencing, the Home Affairs Minister has made, the Minister for Immigration has made clear he has asked his department to conduct a visa check.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Paterson, second supplementary.
Thank you, President. At the same event, an American guest speaker, Khaled Badoon, said, "Today is not a day that is full of mourning. Today is a day that marks celebration." The Department of Home Affairs later confirmed he is travelling here on a visa. How did Mr Badoon pass the character test for this visa, given that he publicly praised slain Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah on social media 1 week ago?
Thank you, Senator Paterson. Minister Wong.
Thank you, Senator Paterson. That was the speaker which I was referencing in my previous answer. First, I'd say very clearly that the government, all of us, condemn his comments. There is nothing to celebrate about October 7th, and it's a revolting thing to suggest that there is. As I understand, the Minister said clearly he's asked for advice from the department so he can consider this person's visa status. Obviously, the information that I'll take advice on the information that you outline. I would assume that would not have been brought to the Minister's attention before the department issued a visa.
This week, just moments after another...
The Minister stood slowly, measured, careful. And from her very first words, you could feel the tightrope she was walking. She did what any responsible leader would do. She condemned the atrocities of October 7. She acknowledged the horror, the lives lost, the families still waiting, the hostages still unaccounted for. Her voice carried sincerity. And on that point, the chamber was united. No disagreement, no division. But here's the thing most people missed. That was never the real question. No one was asking whether October 7 was wrong. That ground was already solid. The question was something far more uncomfortable: accountability. Because condemning violence is easy. Preventing its indirect support? That's harder. And that's where the tension began to tighten. If you believe public money should never blur moral lines, even indirectly, tap the like button. It helps push this conversation to people who actually care about accountability. As the seconds ticked by, frustration crept into the room. Not outrage, not chaos, something quieter, unease. Because outside Parliament, Australians were watching closely. Jewish families who still feel unsafe walking openly. Muslim Australians who reject extremism but fear being painted with the same brush. Veterans who fought terrorism overseas now asking whether the same vigilance exists at home. Parents wondering what values are being reinforced when public money is handed out. This wasn't abstract politics. This was personal. The minister continued. She condemned hateful rhetoric, extremist symbols, division, all important, all true, but the core of the question sat there, unanswered. 90 seconds in, the opposition senator rose again, still polite, still procedural, but firmer now. He wasn't asking for a speech, he was asking for clarity. And when the president allowed the answer to continue, the response narrowed, but not in the way many Australians hoped. Ask yourself this as you listen. Would this answer satisfy you? The minister pointed to security agencies, to intelligence advice, to formal processes around listing organisations. She stressed that no government funding had supported rallies, that the money was for trauma support, youth programs, mental health services, necessary work, worthy causes. And she reminded the chamber of the substantial funding allocated to support affected communities across the board. On paper, it sounded responsible, but politics isn't just policy, it's perception. And for many Australians watching, the distinction between intent and outcome felt dangerously thin. Because here's the problem. The idea that an organisation receiving public funds could even orbit an event celebrating violence, however indirectly, is confronting, regardless of paperwork, regardless of explanations. And that's when the scope widened. Don't blink. This is where the story accelerates. The first supplementary question followed quickly. Media reports, another organisation, another speaker, public praise for violence, and, here's the part that made people sit forward, a separate invitation to apply for government funding. Now, this wasn't a single oversight. It was starting to look like a pattern. The opposition senator asked what many Australians were already asking at home. Would the Prime Minister intervene? Would there be a line drawn? The minister acknowledged the concern. She outlined the purpose of the funding again, clarified distinctions, pointed to visa checks already underway, and once more, condemnation was clear. No moral fog, no equivocation, but still, caution, process, advice, reviews. If you're watching this and thinking, something about this still doesn't sit right, you're not alone. Drop a comment, coincidence or something deeper, because then came the moment that changed the energy completely. A second supplementary question. This time it wasn't about grants. It was about a person. A foreign speaker, a visa granted, public statements praising extremist figures, not whispered, not alleged, spoken openly, recorded, shared online. And suddenly, the question was no longer theoretical. It was immediate, procedural. How did this person pass the character test? That familiar parliamentary stillness returned, the kind where everyone knows this answer won't stay inside the room. It will travel fast. If you've made it this far, you already know why this moment matters. Stay with me. The minister responded carefully. She reiterated condemnation. She stated clearly there is nothing to celebrate about terrorism. She confirmed advice had been sought. She acknowledged that information raised may not have been available at the time the visa was issued. And right there, that was the crystallising moment. Because for ordinary Australians, this wasn't about technical timelines. It was about trust. Trust that safeguards work, trust that warnings are heard early, trust that values aren't compromised by administrative lag. When answers lean heavily on process, people start to wonder whether the system is reacting, not protecting. Across the country, reaction was immediate. Social media lit up with clips of the exchange. Community leaders spoke out. Some accused the opposition of politicising grief. Others accused the government of being asleep at the wheel. Security experts urged calm, reminding the public that intelligence assessments evolve. International observers noted Australia faces the same challenge as every democracy, balancing openness with vigilance. But beneath all of it, unease. Because social cohesion isn't just about funding programs, it's about confidence. If trust in institutions matters to you, share this with someone who follows politics closely. These moments shape more than headlines. By nightfall, government spokespeople reiterated zero tolerance for hate and violence. Opposition figures promised to keep pushing for accountability, and Australians were left watching institutions work in real time. This wasn't theatre. It wasn't a shouting match. It was a slow, grinding confrontation between principle and process, between moral clarity and administrative caution. And moments like this matter because they reveal not just what leaders say, but how quickly systems respond when values are tested. So now the question shifts to you. Was the minister constrained by process, or did the answers fall short of the seriousness of the issue? Is the system strong enough to stop extremism from slipping through the cracks? Or are we relying too much on after-the-fact corrections? And most importantly, how does a democracy draw firm lines without tearing itself apart? Comment what stood out to you most. If this conversation matters, subscribe, because these stories aren't slowing down. And if this video made you uncomfortable, that might be the point.